Hey, what's up, Patreon? I might look a little different, and that is because we got ourselves a brand new camera with your support. Listen, right now we are working on the Nintendo DS accessories video, and those accessories we were able to purchase with our Patreon support a couple months ago, and we've seen a big influx of new support, and with that new support we were able to get ourselves a new little camera. This is the first new camera we have bought since 2014.
We don't know how to handle it.
Yeah, actually, it's pretty wild.
I just want to say, so this camera is the G7X Mark II.
Yeah.
And it's about $650. And the reason we got this camera is because it's a relatively low-priced camera. It's a lot lighter, so I won't hurt my wrist anymore when we have to do shoots.
Yeah.
And also, it's kind of going to be like a stopgap for us until we can afford a nicer camera.
Right.
Maybe a year or so down the line.
I really do want to. Yeah, this is not the only camera we're gonna get, but it's the first new camera we bought since before we moved to Seattle.
It looks even cuter.
That's not possible. What are you talking about? We've been able to get by though. We've still been able to make high quality videos. It isn't so much about the hardware, but how you use it. But still, we were able to upgrade to this new camera, and we have all the lights out. And we turned off 3 lights that we normally have on.
I have iPhone footage that I can show people.
I cannot believe how dark it is in this apartment right now and how bright it looks on the camera. So anyway, we wanted to say thank you for that. Your support bought this camera, so look forward to higher quality videos coming soon. And also as a thank you, we just put out the Bad Games vlog. We actually had to cut 2 segments out of that because it was getting kind of long. So tell you what, here's the 2 segments that we cut out of that as a little bonus. And one more time, thank you so much for your support. This has been a truly wild year and couple of months, and we really appreciate all the support from all the new people and all the old people that have been here for 5 damn years. Thank you so much. Enjoy. Moving on. There are a lot of bad games for the Wii. This is one of them. Gunblade New York and LA Machine Guns Arcade Hits Pack. This is 2 light gun games by Sega for the Wii. Also, it is Wi-Fi. This game had online. Which is ridiculous if you've not heard of this game. So growing up in Anchorage, Alaska, there were a lot of light gun games growing up, and I was a huge fan of them. But what's the worst part about light gun games? Reloading. Who wants to reload? What if I just want to dump forever, right? Honestly, my little ADHD, my hyperactive brain fell in love with Gunblade New York. They had one of these machines in the Diamond Center Arcade in Anchorage, Alaska, and it was like just a gift from heaven because the game is 2 gigantic machine guns that vibrated as you shot, and there's no reloading. You are shooting nonstop, and you are in a helicopter, and you are shooting dudes, and it is so pure, so much fun. It's a perfect arcade game, really, because there's no depth to it, at all. What you see is what you get. In between missions, you shoot the bad guys, and then HQ would get on the horn and be like, you gotta get to the building and stop the terrorists there.
I just wanted to tell me to suffer like Jesus.
That dialogue is now delivered on the controller microphone in the Wii U, so the quality is terrible. And it is dialogue that is spoken in English by a man who cannot speak English. Bob Bartek destroyed terrorist headquarters. It is just the worst line reading for anything I've ever heard, and coming from the worst speaker in existence. It's beautiful. This is something that we have lost with the loss of arcades. Because arcades, the idea of an arcade is it needs to be loud and bombastic to get your attention in the loud, bombastic arcade, right? It also needs to have some kind of gimmick, something that you couldn't get, say, at home, which is why light gun games and snowboarding games and those types of things are so appealing. Because you can't do the type of thing at home. At least, back in '94, it was far-fetched to think of this game coming to the home consoles. You need to be simple, so the audience can understand very quickly, and it needed to be difficult so that you would keep pumping in quarters. Those are why arcade games just play and feel so differently than most other games. It's just a different market. And bringing this home with Infinite Continues, And I don't know that this game was ever really $60, $50. I think even when it came out, it was a budget title. I hope it was. There's not depth here, but nobody would make this game like this for the Wii or for a console. These games could have only existed on the arcade. Yes, they were brought to the consoles, but I think there's something to be said about arcade games. It was a different audience they were marketing to. When a game nowadays it's like arcade, it's never really going to be arcade. That's maybe for the better, because having a game that's balanced and not really garbage is a better sell. But arcade games are gone. They don't really exist anymore, and this is a good reminder of how games are different, how audiences are different, how arcade games can be different, and you can have some fun with a dumb, cheap, quick game like Gunblade New York, and I guess LA Machine Guns, Rage of the Machines. Sure. Fantastic game. Next, I do have this game, unfortunately not with me, but we gotta talk about the NES, right? There's a lot of NES games that I could bring up here. Monster Party and Rygar are two games that I've already discussed on the channel. One that I've wanted to talk about on this channel for a while, and that is The Goonies 2. In the early days of YouTube, when everybody was kind of responding to the angry video game nerd, I'm certainly guilty of that, there is a lot of people kind of rushing to try and find bad NES games to talk about them. And one game that got mentioned a lot by a couple people was The Goonies 2, and I was always like, nah. That game got problems for sure. However, no, that game is alright. First off, I love the fact that it is a video game sequel to a movie that didn't have a sequel. I don't know, I think that's really interesting and fun. This game is really old, a little clunky. It's basically a Metroidvania though. It's a Metroid game, it's an open world game, which I've always thought was really interesting. The soundtrack is phenomenal. Is this the first game that had a chiptune cover? Because the first level, the first area of the game, is a chiptune cover of Goonies Are Good Enough by Cyndi Lauper. So a big point of contention, and this is kind of where I'm like, fair enough. The first person segments where you go into a door, they do kind of suck, because when you enter a room, it shows Mikey. And how you move through the corridor is in relation to how Mikey is facing. So sometimes you walk into a door and pushing up moves Mikey backwards and makes you leave the door again. You're like, what is happening? It's a game that's really easy to get lost in. It's one of those early games for the Nintendo that did not have a very good translation. It's kind of good to have a guide to help you along. The point of the game is you're supposed to save all the other Goonies, and then you save a mermaid at the end for some reason.
Because she's a mermaid.
She's a mermaid. She's not anatomically correct, but she's not wearing a shirt.
What?
Yeah. There's a lot going on in this game. You still have to accept that a certain level of jank with old Nintendo games, old NES games, you have to come to the table and understand, expect it to be there. But I still think just a lot you can appreciate with the Goonies 2. A lot of people reviewed that game negatively, and I'm not saying that they're wrong for doing that, but you know what? I argue that Goonies 2 is actually a pretty good game. I wanted to have my piece. I don't know if people out there also think the Goonies 2 is a great game, but despite its flaws, it's got a lot going for it. And I think when the dust settles and I look at everything, I'm like, no, Goonies 2? Yeah, alright. You get a thumbs up from me. Happy Video Game Nerd, thumbs up for Goonies 2. That was one game I kind of regretted not ever getting to back in the old HVGN days. So yeah. I'm not there for Goonies 2. Not the greatest game on the NES, but one of my favorites, and I think a game that maybe a lot of people should give it a better shot. Should maybe hold it in a little higher esteem. Yeah. Goonies 2.